Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, hi, I'm G, aka Underwater Eyeballs, and I'm a cosplayer. And thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of the Out of the Water podcast, where I sit down with cosplayers, artists, creatives, anime enthusiasts, and overall some of my favorite creators to pick their brains about what they love to do. And first, I would like to apologize for missing an episode this past week. I had some serious audio issues with a previous guest. And so we will be re-recording, so stay tuned for that. But today I'm joined by my lovely friend CJ, aka Buginasuit, who is a cosplayer and crafter. She began her cosplay journey in 2015 and has built the city of SHIGANSHINA from Attack on Titan out of foam, which is crazy. And so we're going to talk about that today. So hi CJ, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, G. I'm so excited. I have been enjoying so much all of these episodes, so
Oh my
excited to be
gosh.
here.
Well, thank you for listening. I'm so excited that you're here. We've been mutuals for literally like 4 years now, I want to say. If that, like 3 or 4 years, which is
Oh,
crazy. And we've met in
yeah,
person a couple times, which is amazing too. Um, so yeah, I'm really happy we're friends and we play Mario Kart together and all that good shit.
yes, we do. As the vets, which
Yes.
is the AOT vets, which is always a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah. My proudest creation is my Ervin Smith me. I think he looks perfect.
He does. He does.
It's always funny to see like our friend we play with our friend May, and May's like made the little Levi me, and he's so small. Like he's so much smaller than like Haji and Erwin, and it's so cute.
So little and angry all
I
the time.
adore it. Yeah. Yeah, well, so I have a lot that I want to ask you about today. But first and foremost, how did you get into cosplay?
Yes. So I realized I told you 2015, but I think technically my first cosplay was in 2008. And I'm going to
Ooh.
give the standard fuck JK Rowling disclaimer to this. This was before Twitter. But
Yes,
my first
yes.
cosplay was Luna Lovegood for one of the like midnight book releases.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, I did Toad
Mhm.
and started doing some Ghibli characters for Dragon Con. I think I always loved Halloween. It was always my
Mhm.
favorite holiday, dressing up. And a bunch of my friends went to Dragon Con every year from like the time they were in middle school. And so they just invited me to come along. And it was a really fantastic time. And I would just like throw stuff together out of my closet and just show up, hot glue and cardboard in hand. And it was a great time. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and you've been trying to get me to come to Dragon Con for years, and I will.
I
I
spread
will
the
one
good
day.
word wherever I go. It's gonna happen someday.
Absolutely. So what's like the vibe at Dragon Con? What's your favorite part?
Yeah, I think what I love about Dragon Con, I mean, it's definitely a big party con.
Mhm.
So it's a 24-hour
Oh my
just
god.
party in like 7 different buildings. But I think the
Yeah.
thing that I love about it so much is it's entirely fan run.
Mhm.
Even after I think it's been going for about 40 years now, give or
Oh
take.
wow.
Um, And so, like, badge ribbons really started off there. Um, People are just so friendly and like happy to give each other compliments and little freebies. There's a huge like freebie culture there. And there's really something for everyone. So,
Mhm.
if you want to go to panels or workshops or parties or, join a Korok rights protest.
Mhm.
There's just there's a little bit of everything. Or if you just want to walk around and look at really impressive cosplays, it has some of the most amazing cosplays I've ever seen. People really go hard. And for Artist Alley, there's technically two of them. One of them has 5 levels.
Mhm. Oh
So
my gosh. That's
there's
crazy.
yeah, there's a dance party at the Georgia Aquarium with the whale sharks. So
Oh my
it's
god.
just it's pretty great.
Wait.
But I
Back up.
yeah, yeah.
You should have led with that. When does this take place?
It's over Labor Day weekend. It's a 5-day con and
Ooh.
it's pretty cheap. So
Okay,
anyone listening or
interesting.
watching, and especially you, G, come
Mhm.
to Dragon Con. It's a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I was literally and you know this because I spam texted you about it. I was at the Georgia Aquarium literally last week. And it was incredible. I sat in front of that whale shark tank. Basically, I like kind of speed ran the rest of the aquarium because I was like, I know why I'm here, you know?
Yeah.
I'm here for these whale sharks. And so I kind of like did everything else and then I went and I just like the first time I turned the corner into the big like tunnel, like the half tunnel room, and I saw the whale shark like come across like the horizon. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, what the I was like, that is first of all the biggest animal that I've ever seen like in real
Yeah.
life. But also the biggest fish I've ever seen in real life. And also in my head I was like, if this like I think they said it's acrylic, they don't use glass, they use acrylic there. But in my head I was like, if this acrylic cracked, the
Yeah.
amount of water that is in that tank alone. They said it was the size of an American football field, that one tank. That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
A few years ago, the aquarium flooded, not because of the tanks, but because of a bunch of rain. But it
Yeah.
was like a few feet deep, and
Oh my
people were like,
gosh.
are we about to be swimming with the whale sharks? Like, what is going on?" There are all these videos of people panicking.
Oh
But
my
apparently,
goodness.
you can swim with the whale sharks.
Yes, I literally right before we got on the call, I was on TikTok and I saw a video of someone doing that. She got it like for her graduation gift for her whatever and she was swimming with that and I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "I need to do this like immediately. Like cancel all
Yes.
my other plans." Like I'm going back to see the whale sharks. But yeah, no, I sat in front of that tank in like in the big like viewing room for literally 45 minutes and listen to my Satasugu playlist with my nose pressed up against the
Yes.
glass. And I
Oh,
was the happiest little lad in the world at that at that moment and I was like, "Damn." Cuz
yeah. That is
it's
living the dream.
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. And I've also heard they do like a bunch of really good conservation efforts.
Yeah,
And
no, all of
really
their they do such a good job with like the habitats, and all of their big whales and cetaceans are they're non-releasable.
Mhm.
Um, so they do a fantastic job with conservation, and it's just it's like the best kept aquarium that I've ever been to. So I'm so glad that you
Yeah.
got to experience it.
Me too. I was so happy. Oh my gosh. Next time we will have to go together. I'm very happy I got to go
Yes.
alone the first time though, because I was really geeking out.
You just gotta absorb. Yeah.
For sure,
But yeah, the
exactly.
next time you go could be in cosplay.
Yeah,
Consider.
yeah. Well, listen, we both gotta get into our Armin gear and like really,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
go crazy, go
Geek out.
stupid. Well, so who are some of your biggest artistic inspirations? Because obviously you cosplay, but you also do a lot of other crafty stuff. So talk to me about that.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I guess, first and foremost, just all of my friends are so creative, you included. And so I've seen so much amazing just cosplay creativity from my friends. And, I've one of my favorite things about going to cons is just seeing like all the incredible craftsmanship.
Hmm.
And then crafting wise, um, when I first got on TikTok, I started watching this channel called Cave of Crafting.
Hmm.
He doesn't post that much anymore, unfortunately, but he really got me into doing the miniatures. So, like using recycled materials to create like little houses, little
Hmm.
wizard labs, what have you. And I love the idea of being able to take stuff that, otherwise would get thrown out and just like create something new and beautiful out of it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I I would just say that like all of my friends are amazing and incredible.
Yes.
And then that channel really helped get me in. Damien at Cave of Crafting really got me into doing the miniatures.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really do have some incredibly talented friends.
Yes.
It's wild. Like, literally, if somebody asked me that question, I would be like, "Yeah, my homies." Like, because it's
Yeah,
true. It's true. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
my one of my friends that got me to go to Dragon Con, her name is Holly. And
Mhm.
I think that was the first time I saw, like, because, like I said, when I first started going to cons, I feel like I and a lot of other people were like, okay, I have my cardboard box and my hot glue gun and, this like random shirt that I found. And she was the first person where I saw, like, oh no, you're sewing your own ball gowns
Oh,
and you're
yeah. Mhm.
creating like a working lightsaber. Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's really cool. That's at a completely different level. I had no idea you could do that. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh
always
my
been so cool.
gosh. That's amazing. Did you say working lightsaber?
Yeah, so like
That's
she
wild.
she and her spouse, they have like a glow forge and they do leather working and
Oh my
electronics.
god.
And so
That's
yeah, all of
awesome.
and so there's yeah, it's like a little bit of every piece of cosplaying. It's always super impressive.
That's
So
incredible.
because especially like obviously people have been doing really impressive cosplays for forever, but I definitely feel like back at like pre TikTok, I guess,
Mhm.
there was a lot more closet cosplay
Mhm.
and I kind of miss that in a lot of ways. But I think like she was one of the first people I saw where I was like, oh, like this is like next level, like professional level.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that was super, it's still super impressive and especially was at the time.
Mhm. Absolutely, and shout out to the closet cosplay, truly.
Yes.
We love her.
Yeah,
I think,
I loved it.
yeah, and it's just I think, I know we've talked about this before, but cosplay can be so wasteful, especially when people are trying to, keep up with the new hot, cosplay trends or whatever. And so I'm always a fan of like, whatever you have, like try to use whatever you have first, before buying. And if you do buy, like try to buy, a quality that's sustainable, so that you don't have to do it more than once,
Yeah. Well, and I also just think it's really fun and, like, it's
Mhm.
also a great way to dip your toe in and see, like, if cosplay and cons is something that you really are interested in, like, I think a lot of people
Absolutely.
get intimidated because it's like, "Oh, I have to spend $200 and learn how to foam craft and wig craft and
Mhm.
sew," and it's like, "No, just, like, throw something on from your closet, have a good time,"
Yeah,
we're all playing dress up. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
I agree, like, the overconsumption is such a huge thing too.
Mhm,
Um, and, I think the other thing too is just, like, if you have a cosplay that you really enjoy, like, just keep wearing it, keep, like, adding little things to it. I think
mhm.
that is so rewarding too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I always recommend people, well, if they like AOT, I always recommend AOT as like a good starter cosplay just because all
Yeah.
you really need is like a shirt,
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of do it with like very minimal effort, I guess.
Yeah. A trench
Yeah.
coat if you wanna get real fancy.
Exactly, yeah, yeah, just some sort of white button down and then, like, do the hairstyle if you can, and then you're
Yeah.
in. Yeah, so it's super easy. Speaking of AOT, I already think I know the answer to this question, but, who is your favorite character to cosplay and why?
I love cosplaying Armin from Attack on
That's
Titan.
why, yes.
That's my baby. I
Mhm.
have we have our matching Armin tattoos.
Yes,
The
yes, I have
seashell.
mine right here. Wahoo!
Yes.
Yours is so
Um,
much nicer than mine, though, I think.
no, I think yours is great. I need to get the shading done on mine, but yeah, no, I love the character. Armin cosplaying Armin also makes me feel very gender, so I
Yes,
love that
yes.
aspect.
Mhm,
And that's definitely a cosplay like I enjoy working on and definitely want to continue working on. I I made it with like felt and a bunch of like thrifted clothing
mhm.
items and some foam. So it's very near and dear to my heart for that. I love cosplaying Nausicaa. That's another cosplay I've had for a really long time from
Mhm.
Ghibli. Um, as you can probably tell from my username, I love bugs. People sometimes
Absolutely.
ask me like the reason behind the username, and it's just I just like bugs. There's not like
Yeah.
anything deep to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I feel a kinship with a character that loves and advocates for bugs.
Yeah.
And it's just there's more I want to do with it. I want to make like the weapon and maybe someday even like the big glider.
Mm.
But it's a cosplay I feel really good at and have had a lot of fun just continuing to keep adding to over the years.
Absolutely. And I have to pause for just a moment on Armin because
Yes.
shout out. So, what does Armin mean to you as a character? I know that's kind of like a really big question, but
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love characters who despite like how much suffering they have gone through,
Mhm,
continue to like look forward towards something and like towards the light. And even in the midst of like all of his self-doubt and
mhm,
hurt, just being able to continue looking for the good in the world even when he can't fully see it.
mhm.
um I just I love that theme in stories. So what about you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, big same. I think like okay, so this might actually come as a shock to a lot of people. Obviously, Erwin Smith is my boy. I love him. He's a huge part of my personality and brain. However, Armin is actually my favorite character in Attack on Titan.
Yes.
And he was like my first I cosplayed Erwin first, I believe, but Armin was like very close or like very up there in the lineup at the beginning. And he just like my first tattoo ever was this seashell tattoo. Like that was the first one that I ever got. And he just means the world to me. I think like both of us experience like extreme amounts of imposter syndrome and like feelings of like uselessness, you know? Not to get
Real.
too deep on the podcast, but like I don't know. I think for me, and he always, like you're saying, like tries to maintain a sense of like, moving forward and continuing even when things are really tough, and his resilience is pretty unmatched. In that show, and I just want to give him a hug like all the time. Like I'm like girl, like people love you and you are the hero in the story, and stop trying to kill yourself. Like, you know. Yeah, me and relating to blonde men who die slash want to.
We just got to give each other hugs in our Armin cosplays.
Exactly. Yeah, he just needs a hug. And he, you know what? Armin needs to go to the Georgia Aquarium and look at those damn whale sharks.
He absolutely does. I think that would fix something in him.
I think it would too. I think it would too. If he and Aaron had just gone to Atlanta, Georgia, instead of doing the rumbling, and just walked into the aquarium and like took a 30-minute breather, in front of the whale sharks, I think it would have fixed everything.
Forget Mikasa saying I love you. Aaron
Mm-mm.
getting to see the dolphin show would have fixed him.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like Aaron Yeager would be kind of insufferable at a dolphin show.
I think he would.
you know?
He would definitely insist they sit on the front row to get
hmm
like the massive like wave of water.
Yeah. Yeah, he would. And then he would get upset when the water hit him. And
Yes.
be like, bro,
Screaming and
this is what
hollering.
you asked for. Like, for sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then I have to ask, so you said you love bugs. What is your favorite bug?
um I love a good moth. I
Yes.
did a summer internship for UGA where I went to Costa Rica and photographed moths
Oh, that's
at like
awesome.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, it was really cool. I would like get up and we had these big light walls, and I would go out with the camera and I would photograph like 200 moths,
Oh my
and then I
gosh.
would go back to sleep for like
Mhm.
4 more hours, and then I would like catalog them. Um, but it was really cool, and it was studying like climate change,
Mhm.
because like as it gets warmer, like they move higher up the mountains and the altitude.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, I love that they're so popular now. I feel like I
Mhm.
see moth art all the time now, which is so fun. But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love moths. I don't know if I've told you this, but I, for a hot minute, was being haunted by moths. Um,
Ooh.
this is some really niche G lore, but for like a
Okay.
year, there was just like everywhere I went, moths were just there. Like, I don't know why. I don't know who I either pissed off or made happy in the universe, but I just had moths like constantly following me around. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah. Some kind of message.
Yeah, I don't know. Message from Beyond or something. Maybe it's from Mothman. I hope it's from
Mothman.
Mothman.
Yes.
I hope.
All hail Mothman.
I'll have Mothman for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what kind of moths do they have down in Costa Rica? I'm sure there's a
Um,
lot.
yeah, there's tons. Some of the coolest ones they have these two moths. One is the white witch moth, and one is the black
Mhm.
witch moth.
Ooh.
And they're both enormous.
Mhm.
The white witch moth in particular has like a foot wingspan.
Oh
And
wow.
once a year, they descend on this one little town
Oh my
like a
gosh.
plague. And they don't do anything, but it's just like
Yeah.
once a year, thousands of them walk and purge on this
That's
one town.
wild.
Um, but yeah, there's a bunch of super colorful ones. So yeah,
That's
I
really
think
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great time. And being in the middle of the rainforest, there were also a lot of other fun critters and spooky noises.
Oh yeah.
3
Yeah,
a.m.
absolutely.
But,
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Costa Rica. I think I've been twice?
oh,
Twice?
cool.
I wanna say. Yeah, my
Yeah.
family, like, really loves it there. And so I went once when I was
Yes.
12, and we did, like oh my god, we went whitewater rafting, which
Yes.
there are photos of my dad, but, like, making these, like, crazy fucking faces on the raft, like, having a really great time, and then you can just see the anxiety on my mom's face, like, in those photos, because it was me and my sister and my little brother who was, like, very young at the time, like, I think I was 12, and then, like, my sister also would have been 11 or 12, and then my little brother would have been, like, 6 or 7, I wanna say. So you could just see her, like, trying, like, to make sure that after each bump on the ride that all of us were still in the raft.
Yeah.
Because I was like, "Ooh." Looking back, that was kinda wild that they, took us to do that, but it was a lot of fun, and we actually stopped, at, like, a calmer part of the river because they had mango trees, like, growing just, like, in the wild on the side of the bank. And so our tour guide like got out and like climbed a tree and picked us all fresh mangoes, and it was amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. But I love Costa Rica, especially Monteverde, the cloud forest.
Yeah,
That place is
that's where I
amazing.
was working.
Hell yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
awesome that
cool.
you've been there.
Yeah, it's so pretty. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I also speaking of moths, I love those like pink fuzzy ones. I can't remember the name of them. Um,
Yes. I'm
but
gonna a rosy maple moth.
yes. Yeah.
They look like
I love
little
those.
Pokemon. They're
They
just
do.
they're everything.
They do. I adore them.
Yes.
But anyways, yeah. So obviously we have to talk about the main attraction, Shiganshina. What inspired you to take on a project like that? Because I know it's been years in the making. So talk to me about building Shiganshina.
Yeah. So, I mentioned before watching Damien at Cave of Crafting,
Mhm.
building like all of these little miniatures. I'm really into D&D, which is something I know we also share.
Yeah.
And I I it was a combination of things. So, I kept my job through the first year of the pandemic, but
Mhm.
then when 2021 hit, I was doing like community events and
Mhm.
stuff was still shut down. And so I ended up leaving that job because they were cutting all of the staff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, I had just started getting into TikTok and I was watching that and I was like, I really need something productive to do. So I'm not just like doom scrolling. And
For
I had
sure.
started making TikTok videos at that point, and I was kind of trying to think about like where I wanted to go because I really love cosplay and I like loved making little videos, but I was like, I feel like this isn't quite my niche. Like I enjoy
Mhm.
it, but I think I want to go a slightly different direction. And so I've been watching those videos and I was like, I feel like this is something I can do. Um, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. Instead
Hell
of doing
yeah.
something really manageable and like reasonable,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna build an entire city out of cardboard and foam. And
100%.
so um and it's weird, like there really aren't a lot of great reference photos for Shiganshina. So I was
Mhm.
like doing like the whole like conspiracy board thing, like,
Yeah.
okay, like grabbing stuff to try and use as references.
Mhm.
And then it kind of morphed into this thing, I think, especially because the pandemic was still going on. Um, I was like, and Attack on Titan can be so depressing. I
Yes.
decided I wanted to make minis based on all the characters, and I wanted this version of Shiganshina to be like this therapeutic. What if all the characters were alive and well and
Yes.
happy, not dead and suffering? Um, and
Absolutely.
and then I started to stream every week, just building little pieces of it at a time, and it built up this really awesome community. I feel really lucky. I being online sometimes can be such a blessing and a curse, and you never really
Yes.
know what you're gonna get.
Mhm.
Um, but I felt like that community was so like healing and kind and supportive, and I found a lot of other really awesome creative people through it, both in the cosplay space and Attack on
Mhm.
Titan, but also just like other crafters, other people who were doing D&D stuff.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I made the whole base for it, and then I made like 100 houses. I
Oh
started
my
out being like,
gosh.
I'm gonna make 400, and then I got to
Oh.
like 20, and I was like, I'm not doing
You're like,
400.
"Mm."
But but yeah, I made like all the little windows and doors, and I used corrugated cardboard from my cat's Chewy delivery boxes to
Oh
make
my
the
god, I love that.
roofs. Um, yeah, shout out to the cats for providing me with crafting
Yes,
materials.
of course.
But yeah, and
Yeah.
um, I had a point where I was trying to work on the walls, and I just couldn't get it in a way that I really liked it.
Mhm.
Um, and I eventually and I've also had a lot of big life changes recently, and so I hit a point of being like, I think it's good without the walls. It's good as is. In some
Yeah.
ways, maybe the happy version of Shiganshina doesn't need them. So
There you
maybe
go.
that's a cop out. But I'm just I'm so grateful for just that whole experience. It's so meaningful
Absolutely.
to me.
Yeah, so what was your favorite thing to build, like, in it? Because it's pretty big, like, I haven't seen it in person, but in pictures, it looks pretty big.
It is. It's like 27 square feet.
Oh my god, that's way bigger than I even thought it was. Oh my god, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because the base of it is like insulation foam board from
Uh-huh.
Lowe's.
I
So
love.
it's like 8 by 4.5 feet, something ridiculous like that. But yeah,
Damn.
I think favorites. So I built the tree on the hill, um,
Ooh.
and I put like the little blue flowers.
Mhm.
That was really fun to build. I I built Levi's tea shop because that's
Yes.
his little role with his
Yes.
little apartment for him and Ervin over the top of it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
And you'll never be able to see it, but that was one of the ones where like I like took decorative paper and like wallpaper to the inside and had like
Oh,
little furniture in there, and then hot glued the roof on it so you'll never see it. But
yeah.
still, like just having little details like that, I think made it feel so like personal and
Mhm.
like a labor of love. And I was like, it doesn't matter that no one's gonna see it. I know it's there
Mhm.
and it's just a fun little detail. Um so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember when you were building the tea shop and like posting about the little Airman and Levi minis, I was like, "Oh my god." Like my boys, they're happy.
Yes.
Like I adore them.
Ah,
Oh my god.
no rooftop scene in this world. Um,
Uh yeah, now I'm thinking
uh,
about it.
I know. Well, no, and part of what was really fun about that too, I made like a little board outside where, you'd have like your specials
Mhm.
and people like submitted names for different tea blends. And so like getting to kind of have that input
Mhm.
from, this community that was watching was really fun too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that really makes it feel like a group project almost, which can be really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, obviously you had to like learn how to do all of that. So what new techniques did you have to learn throughout that process? Because I imagine it was a lot.
Yeah, so, a lot of it was working with foam, and so learning how to texture it, and it's like it was a very beginner friendly, craft. I'm definitely someone who, like, hops around craft to craft,
Mhm.
jack of all trades, master of none.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, learning how to texture it I would sometimes just go out and take a rock and like to make like
Mhm.
stone texture and just like roll it around, or take a wire brush to make wood texture and scrape that and then also like building up layers of paint. I don't know
Mhm.
if playing D&D you've done any miniatures or anything like that, but you start with like your base layer, which is like this darker color, and
Mhm.
then you like build up the colors that you want, and then do like your highlights where like the sun is hitting it.
Mhm.
Um, and that whole process was so fun and like therapeutic, and just to be able to like watch this piece of foam board from Dollar Tree like turn into like a tiny little piece of wood or a flagstone or
Yes.
something. So I think the painting was like one of the most rewarding
Mhm.
parts of it.
For
And
sure.
yeah. And but a
Yeah.
lot of it honestly, I wasn't really learning anything. It was, like when I made the roofs, I was just cutting pieces of cardboard out and then just using my hot glue gun.
Mhm.
um so yeah, a lot of it was just kind of, you know, planning the layout out and figuring out where I wanted stuff to go and then just
Mhm.
going from there and doing the same thing 100 times over for all the little
Yep.
houses, so definitely taught some patience.
Absolutely. For sure, yeah. And I wanted to ask this too, because with any large project, I'm sure there comes a time. So was there ever a time where you wanted to quit, where you wanted to stop making it?
Yeah, definitely. There were a few points.
Mhm.
I I got pneumonia halfway
Oh.
through
Oh
making
no.
it, and I'm, like, lying in bed, like, dying, it felt like.
Mhm.
Um, and, I was like, I can't, like, I don't know how am I gonna keep the motivation up, like, if I
Mhm.
don't keep working on this? But I think honestly with a project that big, something that was really helpful, it's so large, and, like,
Mhm.
at some point, I had worked on it so much, I was like, "If I throw this away because it's not done, I won't
Mhm.
know what to do with myself." Like,
Mhm.
that feels so much worse, and so, I don't know. In a way, because of the size that it was, because I can't just, like, shove it in a closet somewhere and forget about it,
Mm.
it kinda forced me to keep working on it.
Mhm.
And then also, I think while I was streaming, even when I didn't really feel like it, I was like, "I have to keep going." And
Yeah.
every time it was so rewarding.
Mhm.
Um, I definitely slowed down after a while, but it was always there waiting for me. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm. Yeah.
I knew like I have to get this done, you know, both because of how much it means to me, and like I could never think of just like tossing it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, also just like with each progression, it just became that much more rewarding. Like, oh, put all the houses in, I've poured like the canal.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think it was like very beneficial for me mentally to be like forced, like, even though I really don't want to, like I have to keep going. And then I would feel so
Mhm.
much better afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, I oh my gosh, I feel that on the it's sitting in my room, so I've got to work on it kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? Like I have this one wig that I'm beefing with actively right now, and it's my Polnareff wig that I've been working on for
Ooh,
literally
nice.
probably like a year. And because I moved like a few months ago, I've stopped working on it because we moved and now it's like sitting on a shelf kind of in shambles. But I should really get back to that. This is
It's
inspiring me to continue.
it's hard when you have that kind of disruption,
Mhm.
you know, because you
Yeah,
kind of get in the crafting zone and you get into a routine, and then when you have a big disruption like that,
for
it's hard to
sure.
get it back.
Yeah, like I was even starting to learn how to sew and like do all that stuff, and now my sewing machine's back in the box because we moved, and now I'm like I don't really know where I would put my sewing machine now. So things happen like that, but I'll get it back out. I'll do it. It'll happen.
Yeah. We need to just have some crafting nights
Oh
where,
yeah,
yeah, we both sit
absolutely.
down and, yeah,
For sure, yeah.
keep each other
Oh my
going.
goodness. Absolutely. So kind of along the same vibe, what are some lessons that you've learned from cosplay that you can kind of carry with you to other aspects of your life?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Mhm. I know it's
I
a bigger
think
one.
I think that I sometimes have a tendency to be obsessed with perfection. And
Mhm.
then it's like if I can't get it perfect, then I'll still do it, but I'll kind of give up on it and I'll be like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
don't care about this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like make it trash." Um and but I think like cosplay has really pushed me to like get out of that binary way of thinking and being like, no, it's okay to try really hard at something and it
Mhm.
not be perfect, but it's
Mhm.
still a product of something that you love, and go have fun, and like
Mhm.
don't let this like self-critique get in the way of having
Mhm.
fun and having a silly time. um and I think like I'm still not always great at it, but just, you know, using that as practice to shut down that self-critique voice of like, oh, if
Mhm.
it's not perfect, it's not worth doing,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
has definitely been a huge thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I've talked about that on this podcast before. I'm such a big perfectionist and I'm definitely still unlearning that. It makes me great at my job and great at cosplaying, but it doesn't bode well for my brain most of the time. So um absolutely.
it's it's hard, and you know, I think like we were talking about earlier, I feel like there can be a lot of pressure
Mhm.
to like this performance aspect of cosplay when really it's just supposed to be fun.
Mhm.
um you know, whether that pressure is just like internal, or you know, we like see other cosplays and you know are like, oh, I have to know how to sew perfectly, foam craft perfectly,
Mhm.
do all these
Mhm.
other things. But yeah, it's instead of it, like for me, I have to constantly like bring myself back to, no, like it's okay to be learning.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody starts somewhere. And it's always like, for me, really rewarding to look back at my old stuff and be like, oh my God, I've come so far.
Yeah,
Like, that's so cool, you know? For
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, not to pivot on you like 100%, but I wanted to check in with you as a fellow Southern lefty.
Yes.
How are you feeling right now with the state of the world? I imagine not good.
It's not great.
Yeah,
We're really
yeah.
struggling out here.
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's been so great to have fellow Southern lefties
Yeah,
like you. I think it's a very particular experience.
it
Um,
is.
I think we often feel stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're dealing with trying to fight for, your rights and the rights of people you love and other people here in the
Mhm.
South, and you're faced with gerrymandering and, horrible politicians. Um, and then sometimes you turn to other leftists in other part of the country in other parts of the country, and they're like, we hate you, we hope you die, and you're like,
Yep.
oh, thanks.
You're like,
um,
cool. You and
um,
everyone else.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always hard, like, saw this with Hurricane Helene, or
Mhm.
the freezes in Texas a few years ago.
Mhm.
um, and I could just talk about this forever, but you know i I think people, there are obviously lots of issues with the South, but there's also, and like, we obviously recognize that, but I think people are very quick to use it as like the scapegoat rather than also acknowledging that other places have problems too.
Mhm. Yeah.
And also, like, the South is an incredibly diverse part of the country.
Mhm.
We have the most queer people of any part of the country. It's like well over a third.
Mhm.
Um, and there are a lot of people who are fighting to make the South better, despite the
Mhm.
huge odds that we're up against. Um, and I know I've told you this before, but I really believe that, like, if the South was like invested in more by other leftists in other part of the country, like, it would turn blue. I think
I
there's a
agree.
lot of I think
Yeah.
there's so much voter suppression here, but there's also so much pent up frustration that I think could so easily turn the whole
Mhm.
region blue. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
could talk about that for hours, but how are you feeling?
Oh man. I mean, pretty much the same. I feel like you're 100% right. I'm so like that. I know we've talked about this, like the rage that I become filled with when I hear like northern leftists critiquing the South. I'm like, y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like genuine, like you said it very kindly. I'm not gonna be as kind about it. Like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and it's literally like when the freeze happened in, I think it was 2021 here. People like were posting, they were like, well, yeah, it's Texas, they deserve it. And I was like, first of all, if you take like 2 seconds to Google a voting map and look at, the population of like Houston and Austin and Dallas and San Antonio and like the big cities in Texas, every single one has gone blue for like the past several elections,
Mhm.
both like presidential and otherwise. Because like again, if you look at a voting map of our districts in a city like Houston, it looks like the wonkiest puzzle map ever.
Yep.
And it's because of gerrymandering, and it's still a very very real thing in the South, and it's, voter suppression is extremely prevalent here, like way more than in other places in the country. And I don't know. I wish people would take the 2 minutes to like try to really understand that before criticizing people. Because like you're saying, like especially where I live in Houston, like our city is so international. Like we have an
Mhm.
extremely diverse population here, with diversity of pretty much every variety.
Yeah.
And so growing up here, like I don't feel Like when other people are like, "Oh, like you're from Texas, I'm sorry." I'm like, "I'm not," you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm proud to be from here, you know what I mean? Like I love my community and we have an amazing queer community down here. And we take care of each other and we know how to fucking show up, you know? So like so suck on that.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
the South has produced so many incredible activists and, civil rights leaders, and advocates. And yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that there's something special about, having to fight so hard.
Mhm.
And I wish we didn't have to, but I think it's also, you know, it's made us resilient. And yeah, I'm so glad that we've been able to connect on
For
that.
sure.
I think, yeah, I think so much too, like I said, we of course have issues, but I think so many people's critiques of the South just boil down to underneath like classism and
Oh yeah.
anti-blackness.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
absolutely.
it's like if you want things to be better, consider donating to a Southern organization rather than just shit talking us on Twitter.
Right? Yeah, so speaking of that, how would you recommend people get involved in their communities, for activism? Because I know you're pretty good at that. I look to you as inspiration for that. So,
Oh,
so
very sweet.
what's your advice there?
Yeah, I think in pretty much any community that you're in, there are always going to be groups. I think that like plugging into a group that's already doing the work, if you can, mutual aid groups are great. Most of them at this point, have an online presence,
Mhm,
and I think that's a really good way to get into like an organization. But I also think that building communities, people I've seen other people talk about this too, but like getting to know your neighbor,
mhm,
starting a local group that is based around like something that you're interested in. We've run like a creative writing group here for a number of years, and I think like that has, even though it was like started around something that wasn't necessarily advocacy, it's
mhm,
like now a place for people to like connect and feel safe and, be able to just like breathe. And I think, especially now, like sometimes we just really need that. We just need the space to breathe and like regroup.
mhm,
Um, I think even if you live in a small town, there are going to be groups for queer rights or immigrant rights, um, or a domestic violence shelter. You
mhm,
know, there's so many things to be passionate about, and I think figuring out like what is something I feel like good at doing. Is it like making meals for the shelter? Is it plugging in and doing social media for this group? Is it just
mhm,
giving rides, maybe to an immigrant family that needs, a trip to the grocery store and is feeling intimidated by going alone because of ICE? I think there's
mhm,
so many different, ways to go about it. um, and I think the more that you're like plugging into what's there in your community, the more you're just going to find those things. um, so that was a lot of different things, but yeah, I think mutual
absolutely.
aid, just getting to know your neighbor, even if you're not quite sure where that's going to lead. It doesn't have to be a friendship, but just knowing the people around you, I think you'll find ways to just to help one another.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, and I love the old kind of saying of like give what you're able to give, right? Cuz everybody
Mhm.
has different skills and
Yeah,
things that they're interested in. So don't feel limited by like if you're thinking like, well, I don't really know how to do social media or like I can't drive or I don't have enough money
yeah,
to give to people. Like don't be limited by that. Um it could really be
yeah.
anything. Yeah.
It really can. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely the pressure can be there. Like, oh, your activism has to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Um, and it really doesn't. Like, there's as many ways to be an activist or to plug in as there are human beings. So I
Yeah,
think just showing up, however you can and with whatever you want to bring to the table is great.
absolutely. All right, so now I want you to step into my confessional booth. Give me a hot take. Can be anything.
Yes. All right.
I'm ready.
So my hot take is I think people talk all the time about like, oh, TikTok ruined cosplay or cosplay is so shallow now. And I think a lot of the time people say that with very rose-colored glasses for what like the old cosplay community was like. Um
Mm.
like there used to be like entire pages on Facebook that were like people going around conventions and taking photos of cosplayers to roast them and like
Oh,
talk about like how horrible their cosplay was. And I'm like, like there are still problems, but we've come a long way from there.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
we've talked about like there are definitely issues, or like people would go around with like yaoi paddles and like hit each other with like
Oh
these
my
big wooden
god.
sticks at
What?
conventions. Like,
That's crazy.
so
Oh my
so people
god.
are, people always talk about like, wow, I just really miss the old conventions. Like a ton of people getting into like anime and cosplay ruined it. And it's like, I think we're forgetting about some of the finer details of what pre 2020 conventions were like.
Yeah.
And and there still is, but like there was still a ton of racism and fat phobia and
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I think my hot take is that the as much as there were good things about it, the old cosplay community was not this like magical shining example. And I
Yeah.
don't think that TikTok or this new era ruined it. It improved on some things, and there are some things like we talked about the overconsumption
Mhm.
that have gotten worse. But yeah, I always think it's funny when people like kind of good old days.
Yeah, yeah. It's always I feel like a slippery slope, pulling out the good old days
Yes.
thing, because it's like, well, I mean, they might have been good for you, but they probably were not good for somebody else, you know? Um,
Yes.
I don't know. And I feel like
Preach it.
bullying in cosplay has always been there. Like I even remember like I'm in the grand scheme of cosplay, I'm very new in this community still, but I remember being a child and like seeing it like in real life in public happening or like on Tumblr, back when that was a thing. And I don't know, I feel like social media is always just the vehicle for people's bullshit,
Yeah.
but the bullshit will continue regardless of the app that it is on, you know.
Yes. Were
uh,
you were you on Tumblr for DashCon?
oh god, I don't remember. I've blocked out my Tumblr days, to be honest with you. Tell me
Yeah,
about it
do you
though.
DashCon was a convention that Tumblr tried to create. They were
Oh
like, what
god.
if we did a multi-fandom thing?
Oh lord.
And I mean, there are people who've done like a deep dive, so I'll just give the high level thing. But basically, they like rented out a hotel without actually paying the hotel. And
Oh.
so they had to have like a Saturday night fundraiser to stay in the building. And
Oh
they
my
just passed a
god.
bucket around for convention attendees to put cash in. There was like no programming. Um,
Oh
they
my
had
god.
an infamous ball pit that like someone peed in, and they were trying to
That I
raise
have heard
money.
of.
Yeah, they were
That I've
trying to
heard of.
raise money by like, oh, you can get an extra hour in the ball pit if you pay us more money.
In the piss pit? No, thank
Yeah,
you. What? Oh god.
I I think for my next con, I want to do a DashCon ball pit cosplay.
You totally should. That would be so good. Oh my god.
They're trying to do a DashCon too. It's different people who
Oh
say
my
that they have
god.
experience organizing cons, but like that's
Allegedly.
either going to be, yeah, allegedly. Um
Allegedly.
but
Oh
yeah.
no. That's
It's gonna be
crazy.
iconic either way, whether it's
Yeah.
horrifying or a success.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Yeah, I do think again, I think cosplay, again, I'm relatively new here, but and from my point of view, it's definitely, you know, anime in general has become more mainstream, which again is both positive and negative. Because for one thing, yeah, you might have some more normies in your comments being like, "This is cringe," but you can just ignore that. But on the bright side, it's super easy for me to find AOT merch, you know?
Yes.
And that's like a positive, like the
Yes.
the amount of art that I've been able to buy like at conventions and like just the amount of conventions that there are now is such a positive to me. And it's I don't know, I always growing up I always thought cosplaying was really cool. So now to see so many people doing it and it's become so like, normalized and people don't like think you're weird like right
It's
off the cuff
some
anymore. It's great.
Yeah, it's so much more accessible.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I pre-COVID, I feel like even just like wigs, you never saw them at conventions because if you wanted a wig, you either had to get some super specialized thing
Mhm.
or go to like a local store to try and
Mhm.
find one. And even then, you might not be able to find what you needed.
Yeah.
So and costuming has gotten much more accessible. So yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that has really improved
Mhm.
since 2020. I
Yeah.
mean, I definitely miss, we were talking about this earlier. I think there is something special with like the closet cosplaying and,
Mhm.
kind of the more like scrappiness of
Yeah.
that. Um, and, some of the corporate conventions are maybe a little more soulless.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but like, you can still have a great time just hanging out
Yeah.
with your friends, playing dress up.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just it's not that serious,
It's
you
adults
know?
play pretend,
Just a good time.
Like
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you mentioned that obviously your favorite anime is Attack on Titan. And we were talking so much about our boy Armin. So I have a few trivia questions for you, which are Armin centric.
All right.
And I apologize in advance. I didn't even know some of these while I was
Oh
making these
no.
questions. So
I should
so
have studied ahead of time.
that is okay. I really should start sending these questions to the guests beforehand so that they don't
Oh
crash out
no.
on stream, but it's okay. All right. So the first question. Who gave Armin the book about the outside world that he had in the first episode?
Grandfather.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Pour one out.
Oh, giving the hat to little baby Armin.
It's so sad.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. So then, when is Armin's birthday? It's a national holiday. Not actually, but I wish it was.
Yeah, it should be. Oh, is it? I'm just gonna say November 12th.
So close. It's November 3rd. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. You
okay.
were really close. You were really close. I'm gonna give that one to you because I was like, I don't know. Like the one that I remember the most is Erwin's, which is October 14th.
Aw,
Yeah, because that's a
good day.
holiday for me specifically.
Yes, as it should be.
Absolutely. So then this is a finish the quote. So it's to rise above monsters, we have to
Become monsters ourselves.
something like that. It's abandon our humanity.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that one's a little different depending on the dub or the sub too. Because I think I was looking at the different translations for it and I was like, this could be like three different quotes. So we're
Yeah,
just gonna go with the one that I remember it being.
such a good one.
Mhm. Okay, so then in a slap on Titan, what medical practice did Armin say he wanted to specialize in?
Abortion.
Abortion. Okay, so I've never
Good
actually
hit.
seen all of a slap on Titan.
Honestly, okay, here's my hot take freebie.
Yeah.
I I think that the highlights of the Slap on Titan are enough.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, that's it. You don't
I
have to
think
watch the rest.
I think a lot of it has not aged well.
Ooh, yeah. It's definitely one of those like earlier internet gems that should
Yes.
probably stay in the time capsule, you know?
Yes, but when it's good, masterpiece.
Yeah, when it's good, it's good. Absolutely. Okay, so then this is my last question for you. And I was baffled when I read this online because I was like, "Oh
Incredible.
my god. How did Armin's parents die?"
They were trying to leave in the hot air balloon and got shot
Yes.
down by the military police.
Yes. I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
What the
I
fuck?
I think it's
Crazy work.
is it Sanas, the guy that Hanji and Levi torture in the
I think
MPs?
so. Yeah, maybe. I
He
think he
like
mentions it.
it's like the briefest thing, but yeah, he mentions it. He's like talking about the people that they've murdered to like keep everything under wraps, and he's
Oh my
like
god.
a couple that tried to go on an air balloon or whatever, and I was
Oh
like,
my god.
what?
You're like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, and then don't they bring it up again in Mikasa's OVA? Doesn't it come up there too?
Yes,
I
I think
think. I
so.
just remember there being a hot air balloon. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, listeners. Oh my gosh, you did so good. I literally was like Googling those and I was like, I don't know how Armin's parents die. There was like an article that was like 10 crazy facts about Armin Arlert that you probably don't know. And that was like number 7. And I was like, holy fuck, that's crazy.
I'll credit Sky's Attack on Titan trivia's that she used to do.
Yes. Yes. Oh my god. Shout out our Pookie Sky. We love you.
We love you. Ah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, CJ, for your time. I love you so much.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank
And do you
you.
have any closing thoughts for everyone watching?
Yeah, I I guess I just kind of want to go back to like what we were talking about earlier. Like if you are interested in cosplay or crafting or just any sort of creativity, don't let perfection be your enemy.
Mhm.
I I think just going into it wanting to learn and wanting to have fun is the biggest thing, and like closet cosplay is where it's at.
Yes.
um but yeah, don't I yeah, preaching to myself here just as much, but yeah, I don't let yourself get intimidated. Just have a good time and try and learn something new, and you know, just let yourself like get invested in it. Don't be afraid to be cringe. Cringe is dead.
Cringe's dead, be free.
And and yeah, and find other people that love the same thing. And
Yeah.
you know, you might find some of your best friends over the internet uh,
Yeah,
for
it's
4 years
true.
and counting.
It's true. Alrighty, well, thank you so much once again, and thank you to the
Thank
audience
you.
for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're watching this on Spotify, give me a follow, like the podcast, give me a little rating if you want to. You can find me at Underwater Eyeballs on all platforms, and CJ, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Buginasuit. Um, I right now I am not posting a whole lot, but hopefully at some point when my life calms down a little bit, I'll continue to. And you can of course see like all of my building SHIGANSHINA stuff that has already posted on there. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you. And thank you so much,
Absolutely.
G. This was so great.
Of course, thank you. And yes, y'all definitely go check out Shiganshina. It's pretty fucking cool. I love it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, I will be back very soon with another episode of the Out of the Water podcast. So thank you so much, CJ.
Thank you. Bye.